Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. That's AJ. I'm Rudo. These are Eddie and Blake. They're going to be doing a lot of the show today because young people.
Yeah,
I guess.
we are young.
That's the reasoning?
Yeah, that's the reasoning. Look, AJ and I have spent our whole lives. We existed before the Avs.
Well, we should at least say that they have their own podcast.
They do.
They aren't two completely
They
random
aren't just
people
random human
that we
beings.
just pulled off the street.
No, they have their own Avs podcast. They talk about the Avs like young people do.
Yeah, they're a very good. If you ever listen to one of their shows, especially after a game, they're a very good. There's one like a good exercise in different personalities. Whereas Rudo and I get a lot of criticism for being too samey. They don't have that problem.
Well, we do when Jack Johnson does something. Then we're just all on board, just full Jack Johnson. It's the Jack Johnson hype show, pretty much.
That's my guy.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't love Jack Johnson when he does the one good thing that
Which
you
is
get out of
defend
him
the
a
blue
week,
line.
like,
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
Okay, Jack Johnson lovers confirmed. We're going to go a little bit deeper than that on today's show.
Maybe.
I hope. I mean, let's start here.
Still August, brother. We
Because-
don't have to get too real.
We just released our top 15 Avs list of all time. I know you guys. I had you make top 10 lists.
It was top 10. I did top 15.
Top 15's fine too.
I did 10.
But I'm curious, how aggressively do you guys rate people from this era? And like, I know McKinnon and Makar will be up there high on your list, but someone like a Landeskog, someone like I mean, you can throw Mikko into that conversation too. Are we talking like, are you pushing for top 5 for these guys, given that you weren't alive for the best parts of certainly Forsberg and Wasakic was pretty good for a while.
I would say no, because I got to watch Foot and Hayduk when I was young. I think Hayduk was my first favorite player, really, besides Chris Stewart, which was interesting. When he scored a hat trick in like March of 2010, I was like, yeah, that's my guy right there. I picked Chris Stewart. And then
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
Everybody from that era of Avs fandom has a guy that they loved where they're like, well, that was mine was Wojtek Volsky, so we all have a dude.
Wojtek Volsky and, oh my God, how am I forgetting his name? Oh, David Jones. Those were my guys.
David Jones, that's a tough one.
David Jones was the guy. It was always fun to watch him because he was like this like big lumbering, unathletic pro athlete, and he would always get hurt in the most comical of ways. And it was just like, this is such an interesting experience.
I also remember TJ Gagliardi, too, was one of my guys.
Let's go.
And this is when I was like, from when I was like 6 to when I was like 10.
Oh my
I
God.
would watch probably like half the games. I didn't really know what was
Children.
going on.
It's like 10 minutes ago.
So, yeah, it's, interesting. But no, Hayduk, I think Hayduk and Foot, no attempt to put Mikko or Landeskog above them. So,
Hayduk's placement on our 25 list has been,
Contentious.
well, it's been a thing that people have messaged me about all week, so I
he's
am
really
curious.
good. Like, he was really good. So.
Yeah.
I didn't put Landeskog above either of them, but I put Mikko above them. I mean, obviously McKinnon and Makar are above them.
Yeah.
but
Given.
yeah. No, I have Mac, Makar, and Mikko. All those are my 4, 5, 6. So
Okay. See, I think Mikko could be above Foot. I think there's a good case for that. I don't know if I can put Mikko above Hayduk.
the reason I put Mikko above Hayduk is that like it's a different era, but Hayduk's big accomplishment was he won the Rocket with like 50 goals.
Yep.
Mikko did that like that was he did it faster than anybody did in franchise history last year. So,
He has the Avs goal record. I mean, there's certainly an argument to be made there, but Hayduk, one,
Class bonus.
the first part of his career was doing it in a significantly harder league to score in.
right.
Two, the longevity is he still holds many of the Avs specific records, obviously over 1,000 games, 800 points in an Avs jersey, all that stuff. But it's we've talked about this a lot. In a couple of years, it'll be easy Mikko, right? But
If Mikko never played another game right now, I don't know how you would put him over Milan Hajduk. And we're making the list right now, so projecting doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
true.
That's where I think that's why I thought this would be an interesting like we lived through Milan Hajduk's wow, Milan Hajduk is really, really good. He's not, like elite. He's not like that extra level, but he was really good. And we lived through like the cup, and so
Yep.
we had like a certain glow about it where it was like Milan Hajduk. Like we lived through those things, so we have those core memories of them. And you guys, like, I know when you guys were literal children, Milan Hajduk was still playing, but it's different. The way that you view the game at 8 versus 16 versus
wildly
26,
different,
like
yeah.
it changes so fast. So that's where I think it's interesting to get y'all's perspective on stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love Milan Hajduk. He was I have a picture. I found out like last year. He was my first jersey. There's like a picture of like 3-year-old me wearing a Milan Hajduk jersey, and it wasn't when they went to Reebok yet. It was one of the the starter jerseys, and like I've always loved Milan. I don't know. I just think I guess I'm doing a little bit of self-projecting when I put Mikko above him, but Milan Hajduk's dope, and I think he needs more respect, like just for who he was as a player in the league.
Yeah, I definitely. Hajduk is one of those guys. I think it's when you look at his numbers through a certain lens, it's like because when we look at it in the lens of how scoring is right now in the NHL, you're like 78 points.
Not that amazing, but
4 years ago, 5 years ago, we would look at a 78-point season and be like, "I'll take that. Like, that sounds great." So it's funny the way that when you look back a long way on some stuff, that perspective changes based on the league that you're currently in.
I think something else you said about Hajduk was like he was that generation's really good player who wasn't quite elite.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I kind of see Landeskog like that for this generation, where for me Landeskog used to be like a very frustrating player back in, before 2016, 2017, that year and before. Just, I don't know. There was no really reason for it. He was one of the guys where I was just like, he could do more. And then 17, 18 happened. And then from then on, like, I can't believe that I would ever think that, and he's not elite or anything, but he's so fun to watch and I miss him a lot. So yeah.
hopefully he's back in 15 months now.
I think it was interesting, the evolution of Landeskog, where drafted second overall, given the captaincy, but as a player, like the big knock against him as a prospect was this might already be as good as he gets.
Yeah.
There may not be a big like jump forward. And then for like 8 or 9 years, he was basically the same guy. And then all of a sudden it turns up a bunch. The Avs get really good. His scoring goes up quite a bit. 30-goal season kind of drops out of nowhere where you're like, okay, cool, we'll take this. And he's a point-per-game guy for basically 3 straight seasons. And, going from, you're a 60-point guy to a point-per-game guy is a pretty significant leap. And factor in all the other things that he brings to the table, and his legacy as an Av, I think, will always be really interesting. The captaincy and how beloved he is.
Yep.
Kind of shades what player is he? Because as a player, I do think Milan Hajduk is a fair enough, like, similar caliber of guy. Overall, like, very, very different style of players, but you would have him in the same tier as he's about that good.
Mm-hmm.
But with all the other intangibles with Landeskog, you're going to elevate him, and if he can get healthy and get
It's
you
the
know,
Jonathan
game's-
Taves path.
the
to
game's played and the
yeah.
points and all that stuff, then you can elevate him and you're like, okay. Like if he captains 2 more Stanley Cup winners, then you're like, is this guy going to be in the Hall of Fame? Like,
The Jonathan Taves Hall of Fame, like you said.
Yeah, exactly.
Gabe Landeskog should just be in the Hall of Fame for his looks alone. Like the appeal.
He's
they're gonna get
definitely
people coming through
definitely
door
in the
every
Hall
day.
of Looks for
yeah,
sure.
he's in the Mill Model Hall of Fame.
They
No
should have,
question.
They should have that.
His nose got broken last year, and it just made him look better.
Because you're like, oh, what's he gonna look like when part of that face gets rearranged a little bit? And it was like, oh, now he just looks rugged. Like, great, he's gonna go chop down a tree and keep me warm at night. Wonderful.
Didn't he get a tooth taken out too, or was that someone
I
else?
think at some point,
I think
Yeah,
like recently he got like a tooth
Probably
taken out.
seems like a fair assumption for a hockey player.
Most of them have had at least 1 or 2 teeth knocked out. So you both have the Holy Trinity in your top 3.
yeah, someone said something about Forsberg. He's number 1 for me.
I love it. You're wrong.
I know
That
I'm wrong.
pains me, but I love it.
I know I'm wrong, but just the way my dad talks about him. Obviously, like I've watched all the highlights and everything.
Yeah.
Just the way my dad talks about him, and I can see the little sparkle in his eye, where I'm like, "Wow, okay." So it was like that. It's like Makar for me, where I
Yeah.
get this little sparkle in my eye when I watch him play hockey. I'm like,
Yep.
"Wow, he's just really good."
When you just know you're witnessing something that you may never see again.
Right. So. Yeah.
Although with Forsberg, it's funny that we talk about him that way because the guy he got traded for was also that way. But we didn't ever see Eric Lindros's games because
He's set out in Philly.
yeah, he's out in Philadelphia and like the world was a lot smaller back
Yeah.
then.
You
I
couldn't
guess
just
it was a lot bigger because you couldn't get to
you just
things.
couldn't turn on a Philadelphia game
Exactly.
living
Like
in Denver.
willy-nilly, I'm gonna
Yeah.
watch Lindros tonight.
Yeah.
But Forsberg was also my dad's favorite player. So he was just when he took over a game, there just wasn't anything else like it. Joe Sakic, I think, is probably a better player. Obviously, not even considering health, I think he was probably just a better player. But the way that Forsberg did it was so
Explosive.
just
Yeah.
Forsberg could do this,
Yeah.
really. He was just a totally different beast.
Yeah, my dad, like a while ago, I remember he showed me like the clip. Someone posted it somewhere on social media of his highlights from a game against Florida where they were down like 3 or 4 goals.
Yeah, the 7-4 game. Yeah.
Yeah, and he just single-handedly, like, there's that one goal that he has where he just fights through about 7 people
Yeah.
Yep.
to like power a goal into the net.
Does
It's-
like 2 loops around the offensive zone.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and like he gets bodied and he just like throws guys off of him.
Yeah.
He's like fighting for pucks going in between players and just like, no, get off of me.
and then he scores and he's just like I don't have the energy to do anything other than just
Yeah. There wasn't what was interesting was there wasn't a lot of like he wasn't an in your face guy, you know? Like he was not boisterous. Like Patrick Waugh did all that for basically everybody. Because it was like Forsberg and Sakic both were like, yeah, we're here. We're just going to kick your ass. And then we're going to go home and do whatever we want to do. But yeah, that Florida game is like the stuff of legend, man. And that's, you get down like that and you're like, oh yeah. By the way, you win that game because of Peter Forsberg.
Right.
And that's what I mean. Like when it clicked for him, it was just, there was just nothing else like it.
Right. And the things we miss with Forsberg that we get with like Makar is just watching him every shift where you can see, oh, okay, Cale Makar's way smarter than everyone and way better than everyone also. Like the Forsberg thing, my dad tells me it was the same way. He was also way smarter than everyone and way better than everyone. So
Forsberg's vision was,
yeah, that's what he says.
it was just
Yeah,
the way that
it
he
was
saw
unbelievable.
the ice, you know, that everybody, I think the whole, you know, chess versus checkers things gets overused quite a bit, but that was it. Forsberg was a grandmaster level chess player, and he made defenses look like they were beginner checkers players. These are guys in the NHL. He did it to Nick Lidstrom in the playoffs. Like, give me a break, right? Like, he was just so special.
It's the it's the level of casual that they are able to do it.
Yeah.
Both him and Makar, where it's like they'll make a pass, and if you're like not experienced in hockey, you're like, oh, that was pretty cool. And someone who has like watched the game for a while was like, that's impossible. You don't understand.
Yeah.
Like,
where it's like, well, what's the big deal? He just passes to the open guy, and you're like, yeah, through 4 bodies. And like, how does he even like look where he is?
Yeah.
And think about what the world looks like to him. How does he see that guy over there? It's 50 feet away from him, and there's a bunch of large humans between them. Like, where do you get off being able to even see that? How dare you, sir? And then being able to actually execute it? Unbelievable.
There's the stuff like that where, like an experienced hockey eye can see it, but then you see ESPN posting like the highlights of Cale Makar just working dudes on the blue line, his game winner against Chicago, and you see people who've like maybe watched a hockey game before, and they're like, oh, so this guy is like good.
he's just better.
Yeah, like that's how you could tell. Like, and it's the same thing with Forsberg. Like, if I feel like that's what makes and McDavid and like all these guys, that's what makes like a really special hockey player or just an athlete special, is that anybody can just look at him and just be like, oh, that guy is just like better than everybody. Like,
Yeah, when you've reached a certain level, when you're able to make the spectacular look routine, to where a person could look at it and be like, I could do that. And you're like, yeah, okay, buddy.
No, you can't.
Because they make it look so effortless. And then you watch and you're like, oh yeah, if it's that easy, why is it that you don't see 99% of other NHL players even capable of trying this?
It's on another level. I am curious though. So let me ask you guys this way: did you guys have a choice getting into hockey, or was it just born into it?
Well, so I was 5 years old. It was the 2010 Olympics. I remember it pretty well, actually. Yeah, 2010 Olympics, February 2010. Yeah, that's right.
Memories.
And I was in my parents' room, and my dad was like, "You want to come watch the Olympics with me?" And I was like, "No." I was like playing with trucks or something. And
Hell yeah, trucks.
Yeah.
Shout out trucks.
trucks are so good. So I just got in bed and we like watched the Olympics. I think it was like USA and like Slovakia or something. And I don't know. I was just hooked. It went from asking why don't we score on our own goalie to what it is now with a podcast. And it just ever since then, I had no choice with the Avs. The Avs was after the Olympics, and then yeah, that was it. I was hooked.
For me, I was an Avs fan before I got started playing hockey. But my first game was one of the crazy. I don't know where it would rank in the all-time NHL kind of grand picture of things, but it was the overtime game against San Jose in the playoffs where Anderson absolutely stood on his head and the Avs won because
Hell yeah, game 3.
they scored on themselves. Brian O'Reilly got the overtime winning goal because
Dan Boyle.
he thought about the puck at one point.
Look, if you watch the altitude replay of it, you see he touches it. Ever so slightly, he touches it. It's fair enough to give him that credit. He touched it, man.
No, I'm with you. Yeah. I've watched
Imperceptibly
that so many
changes the
times.
direction of that.
It doesn't matter if it changes the direction. You can see it makes contact.
Okay.
But yeah, so I remember that, but I was really young at that point, and I wasn't like, wow, this has changed my outlook on life forever. Because I didn't know what happened. I didn't know what the playoffs were. I didn't know what was going on at all. I just knew that people were happy. Puck went in, people were happy. And then my dad was a big hockey fan. And he never learned to skate when he was a kid. He was a baseball guy and a swim guy, but he always loved watching hockey. After the 01 Cup, he went out to the Chop House and they were all partying, and he got
That was their spot for a long time.
Yeah, it was Chris. I don't remember if it was Drury or Tanguay was just wasted, and they gave him the cup to hold, him and his friend. But yeah, so he loved hockey, so he insisted I learn how to skate because he never could. And while I was doing learn to skate lessons on the other side of the ice, there was people playing hockey, and I was like, I want to do that. So I did that, and then it just kind of grew. It was hard for a while because, you know, with the Avs not playing, like, as a kid, you're doing, like, school, and as you're playing hockey, you know, you're not going to catch every game, and the best time to catch games for a kid is, like, the playoffs, because they're on national TV and all that stuff. So I remember, like, you know, I would root for the Maple Leafs because they were in the playoffs and the Avs weren't. So they were my playoff team. Glad that didn't stick.
That's your own fault at that point.
Rough.
I remember where I was at that Game 7 against Boston where they blew the lead. I was at a Skate City party.
Does Skate City still exist?
Yeah, there's
oh
Skate
my
Cities.
God.
Mhm.
This is actually freaking me out right now.
I was there like 6 months ago. It was pretty
Yeah, I
fun.
was there like last year.
6 months ago.
I can't remember the last time I was at a Skate City.
I can't either. I didn't even know they were still a thing.
On that note, we are brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. You can go in, use the DNVR code. When you deposit at least $5, you get $200 in bonus bets when you make any bet on a college football game. So get in on it, get $200 in bonus bets. Go bet on whatever you want.
You guys making any bets on the CU game this weekend?
I don't have any yet.
No, not
Well,
yet.
I'm not of age.
Yeah.
So
Bet
shut up,
against CU.
Bet
I mean,
for CU.
They're like 21-point underdogs
Yeah.
or something. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty significant.
Mom. On FanDuel, I'm Lizzie Wheeler. That's my mom.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bet for Oregon State to win the Pac-12.
Don't do that.
Will the
They're
Pac-12
good.
still exist by the end of this season?
The Oregon State is the sleeping giant. Like that's like no joke. Like this is
A year ago, he said all the same shit about Arizona State, so don't
Okay.
listen to Eddie.
okay. But
meant
this is
DraftKings.
actually based on like reasoning. Like DJU is what we call him because he's Hawaiian. He's got like a last name that's impossible to pronounce. Old Clemson quarterback. They went 10-3 last year. No one talks about it. They're good. There you go.
They're so good.
Stop doing all that. Go bet on the Avs. Bet on McKinnon to win the Heart. That's probably a terrible bet, to be honest.
we should seriously look at some hockey futures at some point because
We will.
Boston to miss the postseason is like plus 300 right now, and I'm like, I literally look at it every day and go, should I just
Just
bet my
hammer
entire
it.
account on this?
Whatever it is you're betting on, head on over to DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the DNVR code so you can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 on college football. You must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. If you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And then, if you're more of a pick-em type guy or you want to do some pools and things like that, Splash Sports is the place for you. You can go check out Splash Sports today. You can enter into DNVR's weekly Pick X contest, which we will be running all season long. You can win real money doing that. You can enter by going to splashsports.com/DNVR and sign up. You can deposit some cash to get started and enter into DNVR's weekly NFL Pick X contests for just $20. And the prizes are pretty big this year. First place, $7,500. Second place,
Jesus.
little over $2,000. Even third place, you're winning a G. So, lots of money to be had in the Splash Sports DNVR pool. Get on them. They'll be doing weekly contests, like I mentioned. So be sure you're getting in. You can also run your own contests and set up your own things if you've been doing that as a manager of a league or whatever, or pick them. You can set those up through Splash Sports. They'll take care of all of the dirty work for you, and you can just enjoy all of that. You also can earn money from the contests you can run with family and friends. So head to splashsports.com/DNVR to join in today. We'll also probably have some... I know that we're doing NFL and NBA later in the season. We'll probably try and sort out something for NHL at some point. So
Yeah.
you guys can pick NHL teams and be wrong about them. And then I will take all of your money over at Splash Sports. Go check them out. Again, splashsports.com/DNVR.
Such an appealing offer.
It sounds great to me.
Yeah.
Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. So
He made a lot of fun of me for it. So credit where credit's due. He had absolutely no hand in that.
Papa Bleau chiming in. That's very funny.
What is it like becoming part of the fandom of a team that has history?
But not history that you know of.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I can read a history book and see that this was a thing, but I didn't live through it, so I don't really know it. So what was it like growing up as Avs fans in the worst era to be an Avs fan?
I would say it makes it so there's not a lot of Avs fans our age now.
It might be now.
Well, not really. Like most of the people our age, I feel like are pretty casual. Like they would go to the, Tivoli to watch the Cup games and stuff and party, and after that it was done, right? They did the same thing with the Nuggets too. Like, shout out Nuggets, by the way, that was fun.
Shout out Nuggets.
I'm over them.
You are?
Yeah.
It's back to Avs time
I was
now.
I was really excited for him. I was really happy for him. I'm over it.
Yeah, I miss hockey a lot.
Like, know your place. I've been watching Nuggets fans get uppity about our top 25 list. Like, Alex English should be top 10. Like, back it down.
Yeah. But I don't know. I guess it just made me really want a cup, like really bad. It was like, and it would really affect me when they lost, especially when they started to get good. I've gotten better at it now, like not getting so down after they would lose. But like, yeah, that Dallas loss, that Minnesota loss when I was 10.
Yeah, so this is the follow-up question that I have is, what was your first Avalanche heartbreak?
Yeah.
Oh, Nino. It was Nino. I remember it like
The post.
so vividly, the post, and then my dad and I were one of the few people who knew it was in, and we just like stormed out, and then that was that.
I didn't know it was in, and then it was in, and I was like, what the hell just happened? And then I started crying, and then Minnesota fans made fun of me because they suck.
Were you at it? Were you at that
I
game?
was at the
Was,
game.
yeah.
And
Fucking-
Minnesota fans
fucking
made fun of you?
Varley.
Yeah, they were cool. Well, they're Minnesota fans. They're not like world-renowned good sports.
I mean, nobody. There isn't a fan base out there where you're
Yeah,
like,
but Wild
bunch of good
fans
folks
sucks.
over there. No, they can all suck it.
Yeah, it was that one. The Sharks one wasn't great, but I don't know. It was just like the run for that team. Like, I don't know. I'll always think the Sharks one sucks just because like how close they were. But if I think if that offsides call doesn't happen, they just don't score on that play, I don't think it hurts nearly as much just because of how much that team had done to get to that point in the first place. But the one that really it's the Minnesota one is first. But the one that really stings for me to this day is Dallas. Just watching that sucked. And that was compounded because I had a broken arm. So I had broken my arm a few days before Game 7.
So you were physically and emotionally miserable?
Yeah, so it was bad all around. And now they've signed that guy to a PTO.
Well,
So all the memories have come flooding back.
at least across generations, we can all agree that Minnesota has caused this heartbreak. But for us, it's Andrew Brunette.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't my first heartbreak.
No, I didn't say first.
But-
I just said there's
Yeah.
plenty of earlier heartbreaks between Detroit and Dallas.
I'm not going to tell this whole story because it's fucking sad, but the Andrew Burnett thing actually was it just went.
Just cleared you.
Yeah. My life was just in such a strange place at the time that the Andrew Burnett thing I sidestepped for real world heartbreak. So
Understandable.
yeah, it was just I can't really say I got lucky, but in terms of sports
Maybe the
heartbreak,
opposite of lucky.
Yeah, right. Would rather have had that experience than not, given what was going on. But yeah, it's interesting the way that your life can take over that stuff. Where it's yeah, who cares about Andrew Burnett? I will always be annoyed that Wild fans are man, we own you in the playoffs and we ended Patrick Waugh's career, and I'm I hate you so much.
Have they made it to a conference championship?
They made it, I think.
Yeah, they did that year.
That year?
Yeah,
Okay.
because they came back from 3-1 deficits in consecutive
That was their
series.
only time.
And they still haven't won anything.
And then they got waxed.
Yep.
I hate the Wild. Like,
Yeah.
that's the only team.
So we're in that room because as much as I am a believer that the Red Wings rivalry has been dead for well over a decade now, everyone from that era will say that rivalry is the one that has always made their blood boil.
You're just bringing it up, man.
Yeah, I know. But for you guys, it's Minnesota, and then kind of that's it.
It's just Minnesota for me. That's the only team that I hate them.
See, it's different for me. I hate Dallas the most of all the teams because, like, I don't know. I feel like Minnesota sucks, but like they haven't played in the playoffs in forever, and like I don't know. I feel like for the most part when they play Minnesota in the regular season, they just kind of they've been beating them for the most part. Like I don't know.
Last couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, like I remember the 2021 season, there was those back-to-back games where they just waxed them.
That was fun.
Well, and then even in 2017, 2018, the Hayduk retirement night, and there was another night where they just beat the...
That was the Hayduk retirement night was the night that Devin Dubnyk and Gabe Landeskog traded punches.
Yeah.
And then after the game, he was like, that little bitch has a blocker. Of course he acts tough.
Yeah, I was at that game. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was a wild night, man. Like, the hatred in that building was palpable from the moment you set foot in it.
Oh, yeah.
You could just feel how angry Avs fans were that, like, Minnesota fans existed in that building. And then the game went the way that it did, and it was just a straight party.
Nathan McKinnon wasn't a fan of him either. And that's like part of the other thing. Like, Nathan McKinnon is just kind of like, I mean, even in the playoff series that they lost, Nathan McKinnon just owned the Wild. Like, and like, I think part of the reason I don't hate the Wild as much looking back is because that Avs team, they were good. Like, it wasn't like a bad hockey team, but they just rode so much like kind of unsustainable success to where they got to.
The way that we look at the game now, we look back at that team and go, yeah, okay.
Yeah, even in that playoff series, you guys talked about it. Like, they were getting, every time they went to Minnesota, they were just getting their asses kicked. Mm-hmm. And like, Varley was the only thing keeping them in.
Yeah, shout out Varley.
Until he wasn't.
I love Varley.
It's weird to me that you guys contextualize the Avs so differently because you guys have Varley as like the best Avs goalie of your lifetime, opposed to having Patrick Waugh. And like I get it
through that psycho's reign of tears.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
I know you guys have watched highlights and all that stuff, but it's a different vibe when you come in, and not only that, but as you guys said, you were kids in the late 2000s and the 2010s. For me, hockey was winning was just the expectation for the first 9 years of existence for the Avs. Like,
it was like the year they lost in the first round to Edmonton
was like
Joe Sakic
tragedy.
was like suspended.
Yeah,
like you were like, you look back on it, you're like, what was that? And living through it, you were just we didn't know anything else. And then after that, before that, it was conference finals or Stanley Cup. After that, it was conference finals or Stanley Cup.
Yep.
And so looking back on it, it's just like, wow, that was really weird. And it's a good reminder that like hockey be like that sometimes. It's very hard to win a Stanley Cup. But yeah, that was all we knew for a long time.
I had to learn how to be a sad hockey fan, unlike you two.
That was just how it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember watching those games in March of 16, 17. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. I just get sad.
See, like, I don't feel the same way he does about 2016, 17. And that's part of that's hindsight. Like, that season sucked, but also, like, there's a point where you're just kind of like it's got, like, there's a point of no return. Like they sucked. They just sucked. Like, I don't know.
That season was divine retribution for 13-14.
It was
That's what it was.
It kind of got shifted for me because I went to I went to a few games that year, and like they were like the 5 of the games they won all season. Like, I remember going to that game against Chicago towards the end of the season where they were down like 3-0 or something, and then they came back and won in overtime.
EJ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the only media member that covered the Avs that year, beginning to end.
Yep.
Because there were personnel changes in the other companies at the time, and so it was really I will always like look back kind of fondly on that season, just as like from a professional standpoint, a unique experience. But I'll tell you, they felt more hopeless than the Rockies do today at the time, because you would sit down, and within 5 minutes they were down 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always like that, and you knew that they were not coming back. You knew that if they gave up a second goal, if it got to 2-0, the game was over. And plenty of times, by about the 12-minute mark of the first period, it was done. They had been outshot 11-2. It was 2-0, and you were just like, "This is pathetic. Like, this is pathetic." And it just was. It was awful. It was like. It was so hopeless, you know? And the Rockies are like the reverse right now, where they'll kill you late in games. They'll make it interesting till the 6th inning or later, and then they Rockies it up. But it's... And that Avs team, it just felt like they had top picks. You know, they had Gabe Landeskog, they had Nathan McKinnon, they had Matt Duchene. Like, you're looking around and you're like, they suffered. They picked in the top 5, and for what? This is what they got out of it? This is what they got out of it? Like, they trade Ryan O'Reilly away for 3 pieces. JT Conference shows up at the end of the year. Mikhail Grigorenko sucks on that team. And Nikita Zadorov,
didn't really push through that first year.
Up and down with the AHL early on in his Avs career. Like, it just, the whole thing was miserable. Varley gets hurt in December for the season. The one good thing they had going for him is that Varley was passable. He wasn't great that year. He was passable. And we watched 3 months of Jeremy Smith and Calvin Pickard.
Calvin Pickard was awful. I watched that dude. I watched highlights of those games back, and I'm like, watching that man play goalie just isn't right. Like, anything he did, like, I'm like, how is this dude good at one point? Like, he had that one season where he was actually good.
It was 2.
It was two seasons as a backup where it was like, they might have something here.
Look, Calvin Pickard is the reason every time someone says, "I think the backup can be the starter," I'm like, you don't want to see that.
Yeah.
you don't know what's coming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes it does work.
Of course. You have to try it sometimes.
You look at Grubauer and Georgiev, and you're like, it's fine, man. Don't worry about it.
They also weren't giving up a soft goal every single night.
Dude, giving up a short side goal where he was off his angle 6 minutes into the game, and it's like, I get it. The third period, you've lost focus. You faced 40 shots. You're exhausted. But at the start of the game, what the hell's happening here? Anyway, that team was horrible.
And then began the ascension of my favorite player, is Nathan McKinnon, which I don't know. He's just my favorite.
Took a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Yep.
10 games it took into that season, because at the start he had like 5 points in the first 10 games.
And then the Chicago game.
Yeah, they get blown out 7-0, I think, in Vegas on Nevada Day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was 7.
My first road game that I ever worked,
maybe.
and I talked to Landy after it, and he was like, "We suck right now." And I was like, "I'm sorry, I have to do this. Like, I have to talk to somebody." And like, "You're the captain. You just got blown out. This is embarrassing. What's going on?" And he was just like, "We suck." And then the next night, Sven Andrighetto gets dropped from that top line next to McKinnon and Rantanen. They beat up that Chicago team, and that was when everybody still had respect for Chicago. So it was a thing. Landeskog joins that top line, and the Avs don't ever look back.
Yeah. That game. I mean, 16-17, part of the reason it has a better place in my heart, just to go back to it for a second, is like, because that, like, I was an Avs fan before, but that's what got me to, like, that's what started to the, like, progression to where I am now.
I feel like that's backwards.
Well, like I said, I went to like 5 games and they won them all. So I was like, hey, these guys aren't that bad. This is kind of fun.
22 wins out of 82.
Hey, man, that's like a large percentage of their wins. But like the 17-18 season was a lot of fun.
So fun.
It was like watching Nathan McKinnon and then Mikko Rantanen, because I remember I felt so smart. For really no reason, because I was like 13 in the expansion draft, and I was like, they should protect that Mikko guy. They automatically protected him, and obviously they were going to protect the guy they drafted 10th overall 2 years ago. But I didn't know that because I was 13. So I felt like an absolute genius when he popped off. Like, that's another, like, I don't care as much about individual awards right now, but going back to the heartbreak really pissed me off when Taylor Hall won the Hart over Nathan McKinnon. Like, that pissed me off. That was, like, close to one of the most upset that I've got, like, just at the NHL in general.
See, Mikko is more fun than McKinnon to me. By like, I'm not saying he's as good a player.
He's gonna fight you.
But Mikko does all the fun stuff. He's the one clapping one-timers.
That's why Nate's more fun for me. Because I can't.
You just want to watch a guy put his head down and dunk on people?
Sometimes,
Okay. Definitely has a penchant to get too cute. Mikko does. But that's what makes him fun.
I love Mikko more than
that's what makes
here.
Nate fun, because he doesn't do that, and he just goes.
That's what makes Nate the opposite of fun. That's like Nate's like, I'm too serious about
Because
this.
Nate hates fun.
Means something good could always happen. But with Mikko, you have the possibility that he gives up a 2-on-0 because he's trying to dangle it in the neutral zone. Like,
I mean, it's not. Nate does that too.
no.
It literally happened last year.
Yeah, I mean,
He
Not
got
as much.
bodied by Adam Fox. They went
Nate-
down and they scored.
Nate
does
has
some
done
of that
some
in
silly
overtime.
stuff,
Yeah.
trying to do too much. With Mikko, because I agree with Blake on this entirely.
I know.
Anybody that watches watch-alongs knows that I spend 90% of them just pissed about Mikko Rantanen. And then he does something awesome, and I'm like, well, that's why you pay him $1 billion, right? Like, yeah, oh.
How many nights have we
Poor
had
Tiff has had to hear me say
Yeah.
that shit so many times. Yeah. With Mikko, like, just so many bad habits into his game. You know, he figured out that he was so good, he could take little shortcuts all the time. Yeah. And when he doesn't do that, like, you watch him in that postseason series against Seattle, he's not messing around. He's taking it seriously. He's acting like a grown-up, and it's like, look how good you are, dude. But it's like, he's like, oh, like, I make $9 million to play, like, okay in the regular season. Like, I'm just dicking around, having a good time, casually having a 55-goal season.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I'm Mikko.
I mean, he was really good this regular season. I
Bro,
don't think this was like
You
last
really
year's
you try to tell me 100-point season was him playing just okay? Though?
Yeah,
He was just like,
Come
he's
on,
just,
man.
And how many of those nights, though, was he checked out,
So many.
doing silly things?
Right up until he
feel like
needed to be
last
locked
year-
in.
Yeah. Look, when Nate went down and all the injuries happened and he had to play center, he didn't mess around.
No.
He took it.
So
he
good.
took it seriously. The second Nate came back,
Yep.
he went right back to it and was like, "Okay, like he's very clearly like the little brother." And he dicks around like a little brother does. I can say this as the youngest of my family.
Baby ass.
Yeah. And he just messes about, does whatever he wants to do because he knows that Captain Sirius has got it. He's got the adult in the room to take care of the hard stuff, and he'll show up and do the stuff he likes when he wants to. But when he was not around or when they got to the postseason, grown-up Mikko came out to play, and look how good he is.
I mean, that's every year in the postseason for
Like,
Mikko.
look how good he is. He is exceptional, and it's why he's such a frustrating player. Because you see it, and you're just like, if you could just do that shit. It's not fair to say all the time, because nobody does it all the time.
Yeah.
But if he did it 90% of the time instead of what feels anecdotally like 30% of the time, but he's just so good that it doesn't matter most of the time. Like, and I always qualify it with that. I just think if he took it seriously, could that 55 goals be a 65 goals? Could 100 points be 120? Like,
The
how
thing
much
is,
better would it
doesn't
be?
have to be.
Would it? Okay. So,
But it
so he
could
can
be.
look at it and say, oh, this is good enough.
Yeah.
I don't need to push myself.
In the regular season, absolutely.
Oh, my gosh. All right.
I mean, he played 82 games last year. I'll take that. I just want him to stay healthy. I just want Mikko to stay healthy.
I want that for all of them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
yeah.
if they stay healthy, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, that'll never happen. They'll never be fully healthy.
Well-
this team is cursed.
Averagely healthy, like, give me like 200 man games lost this year
I don't.
instead of the 450.
I would also take 200.
250.
Especially if we count Landeskog's 82 into that. I'll take 200.
I think 300 is where I'm expecting it to be.
I'd take
I
it.
can't believe we're having this conversation.
I take
This
it.
is, this
What
is,
is the man games loss that you think would be acceptable?
this is the youth. This is what we talk about.
This number is very easy for me. It's less than Dallas.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
No.
Wait, no, less. Oh, sorry.
Dallas is due for an injury season.
We say that every year.
Yeah, that just makes them
are
more
due.
due. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like the same thing with Dallas and Minnesota every year. It's like they're due, Minnesota's due to have these random third and second liners not have career years.
Hate the Wild.
Dallas is due to get injured, and then it never happens, and it sucks. But then the Avs are still better
I
than
mean, really, everybody else is due to have a season like Dallas, not they're due to have an injury. Let's all just have healthy seasons. We don't have to have them be defined by this nonsense of who's not available. We can just let the best be the best.
except for Jamie Benn.
How many man games have you lost in your life?
Oh, so many.
Lots.
You're talking to like two
So
of the most
many.
injured guys.
6 concussions.
Sounds like you need Bacchus and Shanker.
Yeah.
Call 222-2222
Set 'em
today. Go get yourself a free consultation if you've been injured and it's not your fault, whether it's a car accident, maybe it's a rideshare situation, if you've been injured at work, if you have someone tried to murder you on a hockey rink. All of those things qualify. Go to coloradolaw.net, call the 2 number, free consultation. If they think you have a case, they will take your case on for nothing. You do not pay these guys until you win your case. They just want to get you the money you deserve, which they are very good at doing. They've won over $1 billion in the 25 years they've been doing this. So, yeah, they will get you that money. Check them out, coloradolaw.net, Bacchus and Shanker. Get on it. And then check out your Shady Rays because you will be rolling in the money thanks to Bacchus and Shanker. You can get yours at shadyrays.com. Use the DNVR code when you check out. You get 2 pairs of sunglasses or more. You get 50% off your order. They've been rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people, so they are quite liked. And their return policy is the best. The first month, if you don't like them, you lose them or you break them, they will replace them completely for free. So if you are a person like me who treats your sunglasses pretty harshly, they'll take care of you. Check them out, shadyrays.com. Or if you're local, they have a brick and mortar in the Park Meadows Mall. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Enough about sadness. I want to talk about happiness. For AJ and I, 2022 was the third cup of our lifetimes. We were probably too young for the first one. The second one, I would definitely say old enough.
I mean, I remember the first one, but it was like...
Right, I was 6.
They also, they were brand new in town, and so there was absolutely no... I'd never watched hockey before they showed up.
Sure.
So I had no concept of how difficult it was to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
All I knew was how hard it was to win a Super Bowl. And it was hard. But winning a Stanley Cup, I was like, oh, they just showed up, and they were incredible.
They just do this. It's
Maybe
fine.
hockey's just really easy.
No, not
Yeah.
the case.
It's almost weirder, I think, to live through 2 cups when you're a kid like that.
Yeah.
And not really fully grasp how hard it is. And
well,
then in 2022, and especially the way that they built into it, where it was like the San Jose heartbreak, you were just happy that they made it. They won a round. They were super competitive against San Jose. You could feel like, oh man, what might have happened had the goal not been called back.
Yep.
Especially because the game-winning goal gets scored in the immediate aftermath of that call. That emotional letdown happens, and then Donskoy, is the guy
Robbed.
that scores that goal.
They robbed
Didn't
Colin
McKinnon
Wilson.
get really hurt in that game too?
He
Like,
did.
Yep.
Here in
yeah.
the
So
shoulder.
I was
sprained a shoulder. Yep.
just thinking about that after the series. No one really remembers that. Like,
Yep.
they probably were screwed.
He got hurt, came back, assisted Colin Wilson. Goal got taken away. And then-
That was it.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Tyson Joe scores like a minute into the third period or whatever, and it was like,
The most
hope is back on! And then they
But not
dominate that
really.
period and don't
Yeah.
score.
Jonas Donskoy.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like you have that loss, and you're like, oh, okay, well, this is just the beginning of the run. You know, the game 82, they made it. You were happy. They made it. They were competitive against Nashville.
Yep.
Game 5 made it so that it was like full on gravy train when they get smoked at home.
Yep.
And the Hamburglar story ends in
Expected ways.
Yeah, in an expected but still sad fashion. But then like it got hard.
I mean, I
Like-
think
like
I don't
Dallas-
think Dallas. There's like understandable at
The
least.
thing about
but
Dallas that was so frustrating is that it felt stolen.
sure,
It felt like because they looked awesome in the bubble.
Yep.
And McKinnon especially was on a completely different plane of existence.
but goaltending just broke
Well,
down. yeah.
and like Philip Grubauer gets hurt in the first period
yep.
of game
Literally
one.
broke down.
Pavel Francouz was already hurting.
Tries to play hurt.
Yeah, tries to
Can't.
play hurt, can't
Horrible.
do it. And now you're just like, great. Now you're in a playoff series with Michael Hutchinson in net.
Yep.
And
He
so
loses you
you
game
get down
seven.
3-1 in that series. You feel like you played better than being down 3-1. You get to a game 7, you're feeling great. You have the lead late in the third period that lasts 10 seconds.
40 seconds.
And then you lose it the way you do because Kiviranta has the game of his life. And you're just like, man, that's hockey sometimes, but also all the injuries, everything that happened,
Yeah.
you knew they were losing the next round. And so it was like, it's fine.
See, but that's where I'm like, I don't know. I think they might lose to Vegas, but Vegas was like,
They
Yeah.
weren't.
they couldn't score to save their lives.
I bet Michael Hutchinson in net would have helped with that.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember how severe. Like,
It was. They were,
was Frankie like confirmed out?
yeah, they were done.
Yeah, he was
Those guys
okay.
were done.
Toasted.
So
Yeah, I
it was
guess-
like there were no reinforcements along the way. Landeskog was out for the rest of that postseason. Like they were done. And that was the point where it was like, this sucks because it feels like they never got a chance.
Connor Timmins played games and then he immediately got hurt.
Sounds like Connor
I was
Timmins.
gonna say the Connor Timmins way.
Yeah.
And then the next year, like they have that dominant year, the loss to Vegas.
Yeah, that one
heartbreak.
was real
That
disappointment.
was the one where you
Yeah.
started to wonder maybe it's never gonna happen.
Yeah,
I still look back on that Vegas. It just like what hurts most is that they score like in the third period to take the lead in a game that they were just kind of getting their asses kicked. It kind of felt like Minnesota again. Like they got their ass kicked in game 2 and game 3. Grubauer kept them in it, and then they just couldn't help him out enough. And then it got to the point where he just couldn't help them out.
Yeah,
Like,
game
it felt a
game
lot
3
like
against
Minnesota.
Vegas was hard because you have a 2-0 lead.
Yep.
You have you're like 6 minutes away
from stealing a game.
yeah
stealing
from a
another
3-0 series lead. We
Yeah.
were
Earl
like,
Soderberg.
and you would have been guaranteed at very worst Nazem Kadri would have returned for game 7.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they score that fluky goal off of Grubauer's pad from behind
Off of the
goal
end
line.
boards. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Jonathan Marchessault.
it just went like this from that the rest of that series just nosedived. And it was such a gut
Well,
punch.
yeah,
and
and
it
then-
was like, are they ever going to get this together? This is a really good team. This is a dominant team. What's going on here?
they
And
did get it together.
boy,
Game
did they.
5. Game 5 was.
Game
They were
5, they played
really
great in
good.
game 5.
And
I
game
always
6.
tell people this.
But
Like,
then it just didn't matter,
They
yeah.
knew that they were gonna lose. Like you could just tell, like just something in the building. Like during Game 5, even when it was 2-0, like I don't know, there was just something about it where
yeah, when they scored, when they score the goal off the bouncing puck where he deflects it over
Yeah.
Grubauer's shoulder, and you're like,
it's just
that's
not-
what breaks this ice. And then obviously how it finishes. But point being, like the run, like the series of runs,
Led up to.
yeah, made 2022 when they actually did it. It felt so vindicating to be like, because for years we were sitting on the podcast like this team has the potential to be very special.
Yep.
And they lose in the second round a couple of times, and you get people that come into our chat every fucking day and being like, you guys are idiots. You don't know what you're talking about. You guys are homers. Oh, you guys always think the Avs are so good, and they never are. And then that run happens, and it just felt professionally, personally, it was extremely vindicating. But to feel like appreciating a cup like that, to fully appreciate it, made it feel completely different from every other sports championship that I've gotten to live through except for Super Bowl 50, which felt exactly the same. It felt like a vindication of an era and of a franchise. They did it again with completely different players. It just felt that third one changes it from, oh, you had one really good era to you're one of these franchises that teams are now very jealous of.
It's the best day of my life. June 26, 2022.
Top, I would say probably top
Top three.
5.
Top
yeah,
three.
like it was.
Probably 2 second best. Yeah. I don't know.
That was the last time I was up here was when they won the cup. I was
Yep.
watching them pass the cup around with you guys. And then I stayed here until 4 a.m. afterwards. And then I had to take my parents to the airport at 7 a.m. So
We had to be back to do a show
Yeah.
at like 10.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember I almost went here, but I was like, it's got to be with my dad if they win the cup.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Totally.
So
That was
watched it at home.
how I felt at the start of the Cup Finals. Is I was like, he's not gonna like this. But
I know where this is
I
going.
was when they were asking for credentials and we had to go through that process. Part of me was like, I really want to be there if they win the cup. Like I've covered this team for a long time.
If that went
now.
7, you were going.
And it's true. But it was like
no watch along.
it was just like such a and I was like, no, I want to be at the bar with everybody, all the peeps. But I was like, I want to be with Rudo. Like I want to be with Rudo if they win it, because we'd gone through both Dallas and Vegas together.
Yeah.
And it was when you sit next to somebody and watch 100 games a year together, it's like it just felt so vindicating when they won, where it was like, it's all worth it. Whatever happens after this, like, I hope they win another one. I still feel this way. I hope they win another one. It will be a disappointment if they don't. But people already trying to make it out to be an indictment of the era. Oh, it was a failure by management or whatever. They want to Stanley Cup.
That's what I always say. I think even if they never win it in the rest of my lifetime, like,
You're good.
I'm good. They did it. Like, they were bad. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need another one.
I'm a mix between the two of you. Like because I know, like, and I'm sure he does too, like, fully capable of winning another one. There's no reason, like real reason they shouldn't. But like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, they only won one Stanley Cup. What a bunch of losers. Like, I'm not. Like, it was incredible, and like, same as him, greatest day of my life to this point. It's one of the like most stressful days.
It
too.
was those couple of days were stressful.
Game 5 day. I know McKinnon talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
It was for me too, just that day. And then the day after Game 5 wasn't as bad for whatever reason. Maybe it's because it was the same thing as the Bleau series. I don't know, but it was the Game 5 day. Like, they could do it tonight.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd ever experienced that feeling. Like, I know they can do it. They could do it tonight. I kind of miss it now that we're talking about it.
Totally.
I miss that adrenaline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's part
like
of the
that.
whole thing. Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that you love as just somebody who enjoys the game, who appreciates it. You love watching a Stanley Cup final. You love watching your team in the postseason, where you're constantly torn between crying rivers of tears of joy and
crying
wanting
rivers of tears
wanting,
of sadness.
wanting to throw up every meal that you've ever eaten in your entire life. Like, and it's unique to hockey, because in baseball there's the anticipation of anything can happen on any pitch, whatever. But the way that scoring happens in baseball
It's
and
very set, stop,
and
go.
in the
yeah.
NBA, where teams make scoring happens constantly, right? It's a matter of like putting runs together, stuff like.
Yeah.
But in hockey, especially in Cup Finals, it's like it might be 2 or 3, might be enough to like that's it.
Yep.
So when one happens a minute into a game, you're like, oh my god.
Here we go.
Yeah, like, oh, what are we in for? And that Game 6, Stamkos scores that goal like a minute and a half into the game, and you're like, what the like, dude, it's not a great goal from Kemper, but also the 4 bounces it took
Yeah.
to get that puck to land where it did. You're like, this is an incredible sport.
Yeah.
And boy, did the Avs ever get it back
Yeah.
Right.
on the Lehkonen series winning goal, where McKinnon gets really lucky. He passes it to the wrong dude, hits a skate, and lands on the and
He touched it.
and
He hit it back.
Lehkonen just like no hesitation. He takes a bouncing puck and he just wires it, and it's the perfect shot. And as we've seen with Arturi Lehkonen, he don't make very many of those.
No.
He doesn't score a lot of goals,
Except for when it's
like
the clinch
that.
stuff.
I mean, he doesn't score a lot of goals in that way.
You're right. You're right.
Well, yeah, even like the one he scores against Edmonton is a
Right.
rebound.
It's a
goal.
rebound. Like, he beats Duncan Keith to a spot and ends that bitch's career. And he's
Well,
like,
and Mike Smith's
get to stepping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
ending careers
Yeah.
left and right.
What a reputation.
Yeah.
career.
Yeah, like it was great, but just the feeling in that third period where you were like, oh god, hang on tight, and then they dominate the whole thing, and you're like, there's no way they cough this up right at the end, right?
And then they were
Kemper has to
Tampa
make
Bay,
one
yeah.
great save, and he does.
They didn't even come close after that save.
I mean,
No,
even
not even
that
close.
save, like it was a good save. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but like that wasn't like
Wasn't their best scoring chance of the period.
No.
no. It's nuts. Like
It's like it was one of those moments, right? The save and the Kucherov 1-2 that he just misses. Those happened, and that was the first time everyone was like, "Oh shit, they're actually going to do it.
Yeah.
It's actually going to happen."
Yeah.
yeah.
That was it's so weird. I remember so many details of that day. And I remember what happens at the final buzzer. And then there's like an hour of blankness in the
blackout,
memory where
yeah.
like coming down from that adrenaline and then
Yep.
like rebooting my brain.
The video on our YouTube channel that RG did, where he like puts a camera up to us and asks us a bunch of stuff afterward.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
No memory.
Yeah, I have-
Absolutely no memory.
I don't remember it at all.
He did the little no words. Just
Yeah. It's like he asked me how I feel in the video. I tell him I don't know yet. I was blacked out for sure.
Fortunately, since you guys did the watch along thing, you guys had that camera right in the corner there, and I could see myself like the second they won
Yeah.
the cup, and that's
Yeah.
like
There you go.
that's a memory. You know, like a lot of people will set up their phones and stuff. You know, but like it's for me. I don't know. I wasn't like. It felt like more like angrier than it probably should have been. Like kind of like you were talking about earlier, like retribution. Like it was just
Yeah.
so satisfying.
It was a very like stick it to the whole world. Like everybody wanted Tampa Bay with the 3-peat, and you know it was like, oh, this could be amazing history, and all the people, all the Avs people specifically, who had spent the whole postseason hating on the Avs every second that they could. Which wasn't many of them.
No.
They didn't open very many doors to it. But those people were obnoxious to sit around and spend time around, and it was like, it just felt very like you don't ever get to talk again. Like you stop, like forever.
Yeah. I'd be fine if Blues fans and Oilers fans if I didn't have to hear another one of them ever again.
Blues fans are very easily dismissed at this point because it's like, oh, you guys are terrible.
You guys
now,
suck
and
now.
I'm
Yeah.
not worried about you. The Oilers, it's more like they're like the barrier to Nathan McKinnon winning a Hart Trophy,
Yeah.
which all of us like very seriously want to have happen for his career. And like those two assholes up there just standing in the way of it. It's like, God, like it's cool. Colorado has the hardware that matters, but you still really want Nate to get one.
Would you make that a couple years down the line? Maybe the Avs get one more cup. Would you make that trade? Edmonton gets a cup if McKinnon gets the Hart.
No,
No.
Okay.
I hate Edmonton too. Well, not like
mean-
the Wild, but you know what I mean. Like,
I don't know. Like, so you say do the Avs win another cup, or is
Yeah, let's say the Avs win one more.
Oh yeah, then I'll
and
make that
then
trade. I
and
don't
then
care. I
after
don't
that.
care.
Avs win another.
Yeah.
McKinnon gets a Hart, but Edmonton has to win one.
Yep.
Like,
What year does Edmonton win it?
Not this year.
Okay, fine.
I mean, I just like Connor,
like this
Connor
is-
McDavid deserves one. I just
Pretty
why?
good.
Because he's good. Fuck that.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I
exactly why.
No. You don't deserve that just because you happen to be really good. There's a lot of really good players in the NHL.
Yeah, but he's like better than all of them by like.
You have to do it though. Like,
Well, hey, look, you can't tell me Connor McDavid hasn't done his part in getting
Yeah.
that team a cup.
I mean, you definitely, come on, like, he has. But that's team sports for you.
Yeah, no, I'm not
If
gonna
you
be
wanted, to, if
disappointed.
you wanted to
I'm-
be the man that got to be in charge of everything, go play tennis.
If he doesn't want to win, if he doesn't win, I'm not gonna be crying for him or anything. I'm just saying, like, if I get to choose, they win a cup and McKinnon gets a Hart and the Avs still get another cup. Like, I don't care.
Yeah,
Like,
but if the Oilers win a cup, that means the Avs don't.
for 1 year.
I would rather take the shot at the Avs winning 2 more cups than Nate get a Hart Trophy.
it's true.
Go win a Conn Smythe, man.
Yeah.
Let Leon Draisaitl have all the Art Rosses in the world. A cup.
A cup for sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Sure.
He probably would also pick the Conn Smythe because he knows if he's winning the Conn Smythe, He also was getting a cup.
I don't think he even cares about the Conn Smythe. Like there's jokes about it, but like, I doubt that him or I don't know. I'd be surprised like if they don't care at all, but it wouldn't surprise me also to know that none of them care even a little bit if they win. Like,
I think
Conn Smythe.
Makar and McKinnon are unique in that I don't think it would cross their radars.
They
at all.
have
think the
one
only-
sole purpose on this earth,
I think Miko
and
would
it's
be
to
like,
win
I want
Stanley
the Conn
Cups.
Smythe.
Yeah.
Like, I think he'd be really excited about it.
Yeah, Bo, I could see Bo going crazy, but like I feel like Bo.
I want to say
like,
something. Yeah.
Bo wins
Bo's
the
like
Conn
this
Smythe.
weird mix between like he's really like boisterous, but he also has just kind of like that classic hockey aura to himself, where he's like as a person, I feel like, he doesn't really care that much. I think they care more about winning a Conn Smythe because that means more likely than not that they won a cup, in that kind of way. Imagine
I mean,
Bo and Byron winning a Conn Smythe.
Wait
down.
3
I don't want that
years.
to happen.
Wait 3 years, Doug.
Why 3?
Yeah, why
Because
not just like this year?
Max got to win one, and then
Oh,
Kale's
yeah.
got to win another one.
Yeah.
Another-
I don't know. Well, let me ask you this:
about
would you
Georgiev?
rather, in this scenario,
Yeah, Georgiev.
would you rather Bo or I guess Georgiev win a Conn Smythe, or would you rather Makar get his third to tie Waugh as the only guys to ever
No,
do it?
Makar.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, I
Sorry to
just,
those cats.
Yeah, I don't really care who wins it as long as the
Yeah,
cup
exactly.
is as long as they're hanging that banner up there.
I strongly disagree with this comment, saying I don't think there's a player alive that would pick an individual award over wanting the cup.
Oh yeah,
There's definitely some. Yeah.
there's some.
Evander Kane would
He
1,000%.
does
exist,
yeah.
Be like, give me the Hart Trophy.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's not hockey. The first person that came to my mind was Joel Embiid. So.
I mean, he made his feelings very well known.
Yep.
Joel Embiid did last year when he was going on ESPN, like taking shots at Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, what's he going to campaign for now?
Yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, I think I think there are players in the NHL that would definitely be like, well, if I win an MVP, my next contract's going to be huge. And
I'd
like,
love to
that's
see,
where
like-
they are. Those guys exist just because they play hockey and they they have spent their whole lives in this like team first culture does not mean they're like that.
I'd love to see like a super obscure player win a Conn Smythe for the Avs.
Like when people were trying to push for Val Nichushkin to win it.
I don't know if Val Nichushkin. Like I'm
some-
thinking more obscure. Like
He wants Logan
stuff.
O'Connor to win
Yeah.
a Conn Smythe.
Yeah,
shout out Megan.
that guy would not. Just in general, shout out, Megan.
Yeah.
Her
about to say.
Glassbones Jones comment about David
Was
Jones
pretty
earlier
elite.
was
That was pretty
perfect.
elite,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was perfect.
See me giggling over here.
But no, like I don't think an obscure player can win the Conn Smythe because it's like if it was a Finals MVP, sure.
You can win.
But
it.
if you were to win a Conn Smythe as like a Logan O'Connor, then Logan O'Connor would have had an incredible postseason and just would not be obscure anymore.
That's that's like it'd be fun, but yeah, no, I agree. Like that's the problem is that not only does that have to happen, but he also has to be better than Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen,
Yeah.
Cale Makar, whoever the goalie is, because goalies are, unless you're Darcy Kemper when the Avs won it, are more often than not in the conversation.
I
It's
had this whole going back to 2022. I had this conversation the other day. Behind Makar and McKinnon, who would have been third on your Conn Smythe list that year?
Val.
Nico.
Mikko did.
Miko, Val, Kadri.
Mikko didn't score a non-empty net goal
Kadri,
until the Edmonton.
Kadri
series.
probably can't win it because he missed the games, missed too much
Kadri-
time.
he
The
would've
story
been
would
if
have been
he played
amazing,
more
but
games.
Taves,
I was gonna say
you could make a
Taves.
Taves
Taves was
argument.
my pick.
Yeah,
Taves is a good one. I still think Val, but just because of what he did in the finals.
He was really good in the final, man.
Yeah. I saw clips and just it's not just him scoring goals. It's just
He was
him
so
being Val.
dominant. He was so dominant.
Low key, if you were talking finals only MVP, obviously he wouldn't win it because he didn't have the offensive production. But holy cow, was Josh Manson so good in that series?
Yeah.
He was like,
I mean,
saving the
unbelievable.
playoffs.
from that one
You're-
game against
you're-
Edmonton.
If you're talking about the postseason or like a finals MVP, like Bowen Byram was incredible in the
He
finals.
led them, and he was their leading
Can't
defenseman.
believe he
Like,
still hasn't scored a playoff goal yet.
Yeah, after all the posts,
He has, like,
everything else.
8
Yeah,
playoff
Landy is
posts.
another great one.
Sure,
I think
of
Landy
course.
probably moves up that list
Knowing
in hindsight,
now,
knowing now
yeah.
how serious that knee
Yeah.
injury is.
Yeah.
Because at the time we were like, oh, he's back. You know, he might need to get it cleaned up in the offseason or whatever. But knowing now that the injury that he was playing through during that postseason has caused him to miss 2 full years immediately after, I think elevates that quality of performance.
Where do you think Arturi Lehkonen gets into the conversation?
Like 8th.
Yeah.
It's just everybody
he
else
was
played
clutch,
better.
but-
he's got the iconic moments. Like he was Arturi Lehkonen was like when you're playing Mortal Kombat and you beat somebody, but now you get the fatality, and then you put in the combo, and then you get to chop their head off or whatever. That was Arturi Lehkonen. He was the fatality. But you had to do all the winning before then, and that was all the other guys.
I think Lehkonen would have moved up if it was like more dire situations. Like,
Yeah.
you did it to sweep Edmonton to make it. Okay, cool.
Right.
Like, that series wasn't in super jeopardy if you didn't pull that one off. And then we've talked about the other goal, which is just a nonsense and a half that it even happened for him. But
I still wonder what would have happened if Burakovsky didn't get hurt in the Cup final.
I mean, he was already hurt. Like, he was
Yeah, but-
playing hurt, and then he got more hurt, so
Yeah,
he
then
couldn't
he got
play
hit.
the rest of
You got a
it.
different hurt.
Yeah.
yeah.
It was his foot first, and then
And
he
then he
blocked
broke
a
his
shot off.
hand.
It wasn't a shot.
It was a pass through
saucer
center
pass.
ice.
Yeah.
He reaches down and blocks it with his hand and broke his
yeah,
It
finger.
was the
right,
most
yeah.
nonsense.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, what would have happened? They win in 5.
Oh yeah, probably.
They win Game 5 at home, and we destroy Denver.
if he was like it was so weird because like the way him and O'Connor and Duhook were like cycling in and out at the beginning of the postseason. I wonder.
The weight.
Since we're having this hindsight conversation, knowing what we know today, in hindsight, would you rather have let Josh Manson walk and given
Yes.
that money to Burakovsky
Yes.
instead to keep him?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's weird because Berkey
Knowing
has
that we
also been
saw-
super hurt.
Knowing
Like,
that Kadri was never
Yes,
realistic.
we saw how you can get through a regular season with like Gerard and Jack Johnson as your second pair. Like 21-22, they did that for like months and just steamrolled all these teams. And then at the deadline, they were like, okay, let's tighten this up
take
a
this
little
seriously.
bit.
ask again
So-
after
yeah.
this season.
I think the thing that makes it, I love Berkey, but the thing Brad's talked about this before. Say Landeskog comes back, I don't like. There's this just weird mix. So you have a full top 6. Is Berkey even in the top 6 anymore?
I would
Or are
say
you paying $5 million for a third line player?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes because you could move any of those guys around in your lineup. You could patchwork it out and not just have.
Because it's
One of the things that we do as people who talk about hockey all the time is that we talk about very rigid terms of this guy's on the first line, this guy's on the second
And
line.
it's not
These are the
really
top 6
like
guys.
that, yeah.
And instead, what we've talked about is that you could move guys around a little more strategically. In that case, I've always talked about running in duos, running pairs through your forward core to try and make 3 lines offensively dangerous. I think that's what you could have done. You could have put, just spitballing, you could have put Lehkonen with McKinnon, and then Rantanen with Nichushkin, and then Landeskog with Burakovsky, like 1 through 3. And then you figure out, obviously you have center questions there.
Well, I think
Who's
that's
in the middle?
The secret to Burakovsky here is Mikko's going to play a lot of center.
I mean,
that's
It's all right.
I'm. That's the thing that we talk about way more than actually takes place.
And I
Shout
agree
out
with you,
Patrick
but I think it would have been more real had they re-signed Burakovsky as a top 6 winger.
It would have been interesting to see what they do at that position because had you put in that case, I had Landeskog and Burakovsky with JT Compher in the middle, and it's like you have 2 very defensively responsible players with the guy that could just score the easy goal for you in Berkey.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of balance there. It's a really expensive third line.
Well,
But it's also a really good third line, and your only real question is now you need a right wing at the top of your lineup, and you need a center for the second. And that's where maybe an Alex Newhook helps you out. Maybe
Erod.
that's that
you can
guy.
still do Erod.
Or like you could have still signed a guy like Erod for that kind of money.
Do you
for a
think if they
one-year
say,
deal? Yeah.
Berkey, we'll give you a 5x5 instead of the 5x5.5 he got? Do you think he would have said yes to a 5x5?
Maybe. I don't know his priorities, so I just
save
don't
a
know.
little money, right?
I I've
very hindsight
wondered this since he
conversation, but,
left.
yeah.
Like, how did him getting sat in the playoffs maybe affect his willingness to come back here? Because it's like I'm sure he wanted to win, and I don't think he wasn't like probably like mad, like all pissy about it. But I don't think it, like he's a much more important. He's not going to get sat in Seattle unless he has like just sucks like. But like that's true of any player.
Yeah, I think when he left, he talked about wanting an increased role on a team and taking a bigger voice in a locker room and being more of a leader and stepping into a larger role in a franchise. So it might have been a thing that he really cared a lot about.
Yeah.
And in Colorado, he was forever going to be
fifth guy or whatever.
I mean,
yeah.
maybe, right? Like,
Yeah.
If we don't know at the time, we didn't know about Landeskog's injury.
Sure.
So, it would have been. I mean, we're having this hypothetical conversation,
Right.
and we haven't replaced Josh Manson at all in it. And it's like,
Yeah, I think I'm on Rudo's side. I don't know. I'm more of a bigger believer than Josh Manson, than especially him. But like,
I just feel like
know.
you don't need him. I love the player. I just feel like if you have Makar, Taves, Byram, Girard.
But that's kind of the appeal to having Josh Manson. Like they've talked about this before. That's part of like why they spend the money on Josh Manson is because you have that defense that's so good
And
that your forward core can be a little bit weaker. Because either way, one of these things is taking a hit.
I feel like the defense is still
It's really good,
amazing
but,
without
like,
Josh Manson. Like,
wouldn't you rather have a deeper defense than a deeper forward core when your forward core has the high end guys that it already
and
does?
that's where
I just feel like it was a little too thin. Obviously, the Landeskog stuff.
I mean,
but
I think this
Well,
is
last
why
year, maybe.
this conversation is premature. Because if Josh Manson comes back and is healthy and good
Yeah.
this year, you're going to be like, yeah, great, awesome. Not worried about it.
If
but-
he's not, do you buy him out?
Right. That you're seriously having that conversation if he can't keep doing it. Anyway, we've gone quite long.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's a good hockey conversation.
also, I
but
don't know that we have a show immediately pushing up against.
Do
us.
we not? I mean, we can keep chilling then. I'm fine. What time is it?
No.
It's like 12:30.
Let's talk about Colin Wilson a little bit.
Oh my god, let's not.
We gotta go.
But
I'm not gonna talk about Colin Wilson, man.
Come on.
it's
They
almost
could really
one,
use a
so-
Colin Wilson right now. To
They
be honest
could.
with you,
Yeah.
they could really use that caliber of guy to fit in on that third line.
they've missed.
He's kind of like a mini Arturi Lehkonen, like Arturi light. Not as good defensively, I don't think.
I
Like
don't,
the kind of role
I don't
he
think
fills,
they're
like,
at
as a-
all
as a-
similar.
As a scorer, they're
Solid
very
player.
They're like they score similar goals. They kind of fill that like bumper, kind of float around, power play. Kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, Colin Wilson floated around. Lecky doesn't float.
Well, I'm on the power play.
I just feel like they miss right now, or at least last year. They still might this year. Easy goals. Obviously, those are like Berkey, easy goals. Like,
Well, let me
Didn't
ask
have
you.
to
That's
work
what
very
you
hard.
got
Do they-
Rijo for.
you think?
Do
Yeah.
they more
Ross
miss
Colton too.
the easy
Yeah.
goals, or do they more miss the junk goals in front?
I think
Both.
is.
I mean, they obviously like every team needs all
Both of
style
those.
of goals, but
I just remember that Seattle series every day. I was saying, get in front of the net, get in front of the net, do something in front of the net, score a rebound goal, and they just that was their.
do you think the Avs
Okay.
overcorrected by going and get three guys who just want to stand in front of the net and Johansson, Colton, and Wood?
No,
because I think they have skill.
Oh yeah, and they're all theoretically, they could all be spread out amongst your lineup. Like I don't think you're going to put all three of those dudes on the same line. Like you still have Mikko, Landy, or not Landy, kind of do, but Nate, Nuke, Lecky. You have skilled guys. You have guys who can do the work around them.
As long as Colton can drive play, I don't think they overcorrected, which also signs point to Colton being able to do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say
So-
so. The thing that he has done
Yeah.
at a really
Yeah.
high level for 2 full seasons.
And when you're really talking about it's Rijo and Wood that should be filling that role.
19 points.
That
I'm a
is,
What a projection!
yeah, that was rough. That was, It's rough.
I'm still a little frustrated about Wood over Erod.
He hates Miles Wood.
I don't hate Miles
You
Wood.
hate Miles
well,
Wood.
actually, yeah, I do.
You
I think
said
he's bad.
I
think he's
have
bad.
it on film that you said you hate
think he's
Miles
bad.
Wood.
Yeah, I hate the signing. I don't hate the play. He's not very good, but he's not
Fine.
like Curtis McDermott bad.
I think that
No one is, to be
They're
fair.
taking shots at K-Mac.
the $2.5 million isn't very hard to live up to.
Yeah.
6 years is the part that it's like this
Yeah.
really.
But even
doesn't
like the
feel good.
CCU,
Choosing that guy over Erod, who
But
plays
Erod would have cost you $4 million.
and then you're out of space.
And
fine. They have that.
well, and then so if you want Erod, then okay, do you not also get Jonathan Duran along the way? It's a puzzle, you know. You have to give and take. Are you taking away from their depth? Is Erod such an upgrade over not just Miles Wood, but Miles Wood and Jonathan Duran? Or
I think they need
Miles
another
Wood
two
and
on
Andrew
top of that.
Cogliano and Frederick Olofsson.
and the problem-
it's not just one or the other. It's
if-
all of them together.
What if signing Evan
think they need
Rodriguez
one more.
means they don't get Jack Johnson back?
The problem with signing
replaced Jack.
Erod
They
for
were never
$4 million is that in a world where the Avs are relatively healthy, that dude's on your third line.
That's great. I still feel like they just need one more forward with how the roster is right now.
I mean, I think they need one more forward too. That's not
I think
Yoel
the defense is
Kiviranta,
good till
but
the deadline, but
I think
it's
he's
not
on his
Kiviranta.
way. It's just he has to play in Russia for 6 months.
yep.
Shout out,
Yeah.
Did you guys see that quote?
Shout out,
Yeah.
Evan.
About the
Top
he's going to be in their
six,
top
yeah.
6? Are we underselling Kovalenko?
Igor Larionov is
I don't know
overselling
much about him.
Kovalenko.
Last
I
question
thought-
I want to ask you guys before we leave. New guy. Of the new guys this year, which ones are you most excited about? Clearly, it's not Miles Wood.
It's not Miles Wood. I think he's bad. I'd be
Okay.
excited if he scored 10, 15 goals and wasn't taking a penalty.
I'll
every
bet you a
game.
steak he gets at least 10.
So not my.
Okay.
That's an easy stick.
That's
Yeah, right.
Free steak. No.
So not Miles Wood. Who is it then?
I would say probably just Colton because I think he's just going to fit so well. But I'm most interested in Johansson just because big question mark.
Yeah, so for me, it's probably Johansson. I just think he's going to work so much better on this team. Also, him and Jack Johnson, sneaky duo from their time in Columbus. There's this highlight that I saw. It was like a pretty good stuff. So
When
watch out for
Jack
those
Johnson was a decade younger, yeah.
two. Yeah, he kind of feels a decade younger on this team.
His fancies are better right now than they were when he was.
I believe that.
Jonathan Duran, I don't know. I trust Nate, but like,
Get hyped.
yeah, there's Spencer in the Discord saying he could drop like 60 points.
He could.
That's where I have him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
and that would be pretty awesome. I'm more excited for Miles Wood. I don't really have a problem with any of these signings. I think they're all good, but they all come with risk, as does anything in hockey. So I'll just say Ryan Johansson. Also, because he was a Portland Winterhawk.
Very important.
It is.
I think it won't end up mattering the defense in the bottom six. Just because I think Georgiev's about to go off, but
You think Georgiev's going to have a better year than he had
yes,
last year?
I think I'm talking like 925.
Jeez.
Okay.
Yeesh.
So he crashes the Ilya Sorokin, Igor Shesterkin party.
Yes.
Russians on top, baby.
All right.
Andrei Vasilevsky.
We're going to wrap this one up. We appreciate all y'all hanging out with us. Get yourself Breck Brews, breckbrew.com, beer locator. Find it there.
Let them promote their
I'm
shit.
about to. Relax. You guys, if you want to tell the people where to find you, your podcast yourselves.
Go ahead. I'm not good at this.
Okay. We have a podcast, Cake Eaters Podcast. It's on YouTube. We tweet sometimes, not that much. We don't like live tweeting games, but we have podcasts.
Better to watch games than to live tweet.
Yeah,
though.
exactly. And we don't get paid enough to live tweet them. By that, we don't get paid at all.
$0.
Yep. Yeah. We're actually paying to do it. So
Zero.
please check us out. YouTube, we go live after, we don't go live, but we do a podcast after most games. I also write for Mile High Hockey. If you want to check me out there. But that's like the only other Avs thing that I do.
Why you say that? Look at me.
I don't know. You.
What's
wrote
your
a Mile High
Twitter
Hockey.
handle?
At Blake Wheeler 08.
EBLEAU_26.
Made it easy for the people.
There you go.
Well, look, it's my name. I can't change it.
Homie,
should see- you
there's a
should see
reason I shortened that shit to Rudo, all right?
You should see if @Eddie is available.
We're going to get out of here. We appreciate all y'all hanging out with us. Eddie, Blake, thanks for coming down and doing the show with us, teaching us what the young kids like.
Thank you guys.
I
For
feel
real, no
old.
cap.
Bussin'.
Seriously.
We are out of here. Tomorrow, kind of a similar conversation. We're talking favorite memories of the Cup run tomorrow. So positive vibes for Friday. We'll see you there.